Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. I'm so excited for our next conversation. These are two friends that I just met, and I said to my producers, we have to call them because their work is so aligned with conscious parenting that I'm just so excited for this conversation. Their names are Eleanor and Emma, but they have joined together. They each have 5 children, okay? And they have created an amazing business together. They've created this community called the Reconnected. And what I love about their community is that it's based on a lot of things, but 2 fundamental pillars of breath work and play therapy. Of course, psychology and holistic practices, but these are their 2 fundamental pillars of breath work and play therapy. So this conversation is going to dive into why breath work, why coming into the present moment is so essential in our parenting journey, and the power of play. So I cannot wait for you to learn from this amazing episode with Eleanor and Emma at The Reconnected. So stay tuned. Today, I'm so excited because I'm joined by Eleanor and Emma. I just actually met them this week, and I asked them to come to this podcast because I'm so fascinated by their friendship, their connection, their business. And these are 2 mothers with 5 children each. And they not only run a business, but they do so in the most beautiful way. They blend play therapy, Eastern practices, alternative healing, and Western psychology in their work. And they've built this amazing community called The Reconnected. So welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to dive into all of this. So let's just start with, how did you come to this work in your journey as a parent, as a mother?
Wow. Well, thank you so much for having us on, Shefali. It's been amazing to meet with you and connect with your community this week too. I always share the way that I came to this work was really through being in the mud of parenting, definitely not from being in the lotus of parenting. My kids right now are aged between 24 and 17, so they're all adults. So this is going way back now. But when my first kids were born, I found that first baby so effortless, actually. There was so much ease. I had so much space. I was enamored with her. There was just this ease around parenting. And then when she was about 18 months old, her younger brother was born. And it changed everything. So it was this combination of being like right in the toddler stage, getting those first like no's and pushbacks and that challenge, and just adjusting to being a mum of 2. When her younger brother started to stand up, we went through this awful stage where she would come running. She was only 2-ish. She would come running from wherever she was in the house to push him over. And I had never felt so much anger in my life. I think what really shook me was I felt so angry and protective of the baby, but I felt so angry at this toddler who was not a baby not so long ago, and that I really just never expected to feel so much intensity of emotion towards my child. And I was just shocked. All the advice I got was like behavioral, like, okay, you've got to tell her no, you've got to do time out, you've got to do time in, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And nothing that I did would change her behavior. And I really started to have these thoughts like, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with me? This is just so hard. It felt impossible. It felt, the day-to-day was just becoming this, really wasn't being the parent that I wanted to be anymore. And I was really, you think like, oh, there's something wrong with my toddler. They're like a sociopath. They've got there's this meanness about her. So one of the things about this painful time that was so profound was, this is back in 2004. And hard to imagine nowadays, but breathwork was just not particularly something that people knew about. And I was at the end of a class, a drumming lesson that I was going to, and the teacher said, "Hey, do you guys want a demonstration of this other practice I do?" And I said yes, and I volunteered. And during the breathwork session, I had what now I can see was just a pivotal moment in time. I got in touch with my own suppressed anger from when my younger sister was born. And it was this earth shattering rage. And there were a couple of different things that happened for me in that moment. One was I had so much emotion and compassion for my daughter because I could understand what was happening for her. But the second thing that happened was I realized, oh my gosh, I've been stopping her from feeling the feelings that I had to push down once. And I saw the way that generational emotions are suppressed. And I had this moment like, wow, I've been parenting from the lens of my own suppression this whole time. And the first thing that came out of my mouth after that experience or that realization was, no one told me that this would happen. This is a part of parenting. Our children have feelings and they ignite for us the feelings in our own self that we can or can't be with. And so I was hooked in that moment, obviously, but what happened next was even more moving or compelling or motivating. The next time that she went to push him over, I authentically felt compassion. I could just go to her. I just understood what was happening. I just held her. I gave her the empathy, and she stopped pushing him over. And so in that moment, my whole world changed. I mean, I was in a lot of ways have become defined by that moment of that realization, because I went on to just immerse myself in breathwork. So I've been practicing for over 21 years now. I went on to study counseling, psychology, therapy. I worked with families for many years, just striving to support people to have a similar awareness, because I really felt like this is the piece that if parents can understand, then this is what will change the way that not only our day-to-day parenting happens, but just the way that children are received in our world, that they aren't just kind of dumped on by with their parents, unintegrated stuff. So I was working for many years with families, and I worked alongside of just this phenomenal play therapist in Australia. And she showed me that, or what I learned from being around kids, is that kids have this innate way of making sure that they don't suppress their feelings like we do. And if we can understand their behavior, then we can support them to stay really current and really connected to themselves. And so we can really stop these cycles really swiftly. So I was teaching that to parents, and it's where I met Emma. So it feels like I should pass to you, Emma, now maybe to share a little bit about where we came together.
Yeah. Well, when I was a parent, I also found it incredibly easy for the first year. I thought my child was an angel. I'd also read every single conscious parenting book, so I really thought I was nailing it. I thought I was the conscious parent. I really thought I was winning. And a part of what I would say is I don't want to parent the way that my parents did. And I have a lot of compassion for my parents. They were unconscious in the 90s. No one was really talking about conscious parenting, but it was something that I always said. And then I had this really pivotal moment once. I was in the kitchen and my beautiful little 1-year-old did something and it triggered me. And the way that I reacted to him, I was so shocked, because it was like I was looking through my mother's eyes. And I had this full body like, oh my God, like that was so confronting, because that was exactly how my mother would have responded to me. So I too stumbled upon breathwork and started to unpack and process things that had happened to me over my childhood. And I was pregnant with my second baby, and Eleanor had invited me to learn connected play the play therapy that she was using in her play therapy office. And I went along and I was with a whole bunch of friends and we all happened to be pregnant with our second kids. And I was really blown away because I had this conditioning that aggressive play or play that was somehow disruptive was wrong. So I would judge other kids at the park, or if my perfect little angel child who was 1 year old, if he was suddenly like aggressive, I would think that I'd had to teach him, don't act like that, don't do that. Change. So when I learned the play therapy model from Eleanor, I was like really blown away because I was like, oh, this is actually their language, their way that they are expressing themselves. And it was like right place, right time, because I went on to have my second child. And a part of my own personal pain and story is I am one of 4 kids, but we're not very close as siblings, where we don't have a close relationship. And I knew I wanted to do things really differently for my kids. And so by the grace of understanding more about how children are playing out what they're experiencing, and they're telling you and showing you through play about what they're processing, I've gone on to have 4 more children since then. And I've managed to cultivate a very close and incredible family, like where they're really close siblings. But yeah, it's been breathwork and play therapy that's really helped me to move through my own childhood stuff that was really, putting me into states of stress where I was not able to act like the conscious parent that I had read all about. I knew what I wanted to be, but there was a disconnect between my mental, what I understood, and when I was in the moment and I was triggered, and then I was coming from these places of my own childhood upbringing, the way that my parents parented me.
I love that.
And my children have been mirrors. Like every child has been a different mirror to that different aspect of myself, for sure.
Wow. What inspiring story. So imagine I'm a mother who comes to you and I'm telling you, my kid just hit me and I'm going crazy. He's 4 years old. Give me either a play therapy kind of situation to work through or a breath work. Like I want people listening to really understand how this could look in person for them.
Well, from a breathwork perspective, the first step is always taking an honest stock of like what is really happening in those intensive moments. And then this can almost seem too simplistic. And the first thing to start to become aware of is, how would I prefer for this to be happening? How would I prefer to respond? How would I prefer to feel when my son hits, or when there's aggression, or when there's hitting?
So I'm a mother. I want to literally punch the wall, and my child is driving me crazy, and he's 4 years old, and I've had it. Now you're telling me in the moment, I must use my rational mind to think of what I would prefer to want, but I'm not in my rational mind at that point.
No.
That's a great clarification. So at a different time.
At a different time.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do at that time, though.
In these moments where we are completely reactive and losing our self, we need to be watching that we are not having this double negative happening. So what can happen when we are really feeling super activated, angry? We often as well are being very critical of ourselves. We know we don't want to be like this, and we have this double negative happening. The feelings are intense, and then there's also another negative thought there, like I'm bad, etc. We love to give parents the statement, I'm doing the best I can. When I can, I will. No parent wants to feel this way. But as soon as we can have an attitude of compassion with ourselves, we take off one layer of pressure, which is the pressure to get it right and the pressure to be who we want to be. And then we would call this a Band-Aid. But those kind of scenarios, we either need to breathe, take a moment if we can, find that little doorway into that stress response. If we can like crack ourselves into the parasympathetic a little bit with a breath and use any type of grounding down statement that will support us to just put the brakes on the intensity of that feeling. But I'm going to be honest with you, we often don't spend a lot of time talking with families around those moments where it's SOS. Like that's an SOS moment, like call for emergency help. We say like, do what you have to do to get through that moment in a way that you're going to feel proud when you look back, or at least relieved, you know, that it wasn't worst case scenario. But if you can do some work outside of that moment to reduce the stress and the triggers that are loading into that moment, then you'll find less and less that you're reactive to those specific things. There's usually, if we're that activated, a set of specific things that are coming up for us. So we work mostly, or like the idea that I really would love every parent to realize is that if we can give ourselves even 20 minutes a week to ask ourselves the question, like, what are my triggers this week? How would I prefer for those things to go? Those moments then can have a lot of growth and awareness for us. I think we think about our breath as being something that we can use in those SOS moments. What we would call that like a Band-Aid. You're putting like a Band-Aid over a situation where it's urgent and we're bleeding. Basically, you know, we need a Band-Aid, so we need them. But what if we could work with our nervous system and our breath and our triggers so that we're less charged around specific things in our life?
We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with Eleanor and Emma at The Reconnected. Let's do not an SOS, but like a S. Okay, so I can hear my children fighting in the other room. I'm calm. I'm cleaning or doing my organizing. I'm not yet escalated. How in those moments can I use my breath to get me through? I'm at a 1. I'm not at a 10. I'm at a 1. And I want to stay here. How can you use my breath in a way to help me?
Yeah. Well, we love using the vagal break, which is to get a deep inhale and then wriggling the body, the spine, the fingers, and just like really getting into your body. And that can help you to kind of ground down the feeling and to become more available.
Yeah.
Because what we're trying to teach parents is really about the nervous system. And like a lot of people don't realize, and this is where the breath comes in, is that your breath carries a signature, a very unique signature of your entire life experience. That's where the inhibitions in the breath, that's if we can breathe a fuller than usual breath, or if we're holding our breath, what happens when we're triggered. And a lot of us, many, many, many of us, have a lot of stored stress in our nervous system. So when we're triggered, it's not just about the situation. It can even be out of context to the situation. And I say this with, I remember when I was really aware of how out of context my stress was, because I would be in my room and I would hear my kids playing and they were having so much fun. They're screaming, yelling, jumping, doing all this thing. And in ultimate parenting, it would be like, wow, I am so lucky my kids are having so much fun. But my body was saying, shut it down. It's too loud. I can't handle it. And so I would be like, hey, be quiet, chill out. And then I started to get really curious about it. I was like, where is this coming from? Because if I'm really conscious about it, I should be so happy that they're having so much fun out there. But my body's saying it's unsafe, shut it down. And so when you can be curious about that state, and I started to reflect on it, and when I was using my breathwork process outside of that situation, I recognized, I came from a really quiet house. Like it was not safe to make a lot of noise. My parents liked it to be quiet. If I was loud, it was shut down. So in those moments, I'm reacting to my children from that state of it's not safe for you to make that noise. But the beauty of it is once I actually recognized that and I saw what I was doing, I had heaps more freedom to choose. It's like I still would get triggered by the sound, but there was like this pause in myself where I was able to recognize, no, they're having fun. I don't need to shut it down. It's okay. And over time, I started to delight more in the sound. I created like a new reference point for it's not unsafe. It's actually divine. But it takes work, and it's like you're not going to get it perfect all the time, like at all.
Yeah. And this is what I teach in conscious parenting as well is, in that moment when you are watching yourself get tight, get reactive, you're going into flight or fight, you have to realize that there's something old in you, an old part of you that is now triggered. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this flight or fight reaction. You just wouldn't. You'd have a calm reaction. So you are now in survival mode. And what a great mirror to now inquire and get curious about, wow, why am I in survival mode? I remember I used to go crazy with my daughter's backpack, and I used to want the backpack to go into the cupboard. And one day I had to literally have a conversation with the backpack, like, why do you bother me so much? And because the backpack on its own is not a problem, right? Your children are always on point. Your 18-month-old Eleanor in that example is actually protecting herself. She sees this person, this new baby, she doesn't understand. She's looking at it like from tribalism, like a threat, like she's got xenophobia. Like, who are you? You've come and taken my mother, and you actually had her exactly at the time of separation anxiety, right? That is 18 months to 24 months is the time when children have a hard time separating anyway. So she was doing her job to protect her asset. You are her only asset. Or in Emma's example, our children are making noise. The noise is not a problem. The backpack is not the problem. Our children are just being very real and authentic, but we are putting all these stories on our children. I realized with the backpack that I had equated being a good mother with a tidy house. So every time my daughter was violating that movie that I had created, that I need to have a tidy house and then I feel like a good mother, uncouple that. But for our children, they're not carrying those stories. So they are living their own moment, but we are putting these stories on them. So it's very similar, the work that you're doing with conscious parenting. Tell us about this amazing community you've built called the Reconnected. And what does that mean, the Reconnected?
Well, it actually started as Reconnected Parenting, which is our main program, and that's what we were calling it. And then it just started to grow. It started in very humble beginnings. So it was like a free Facebook group. It was very basic, but as people started to grow and the community started to grow, we moved into our own app. So it's called the Reconnected app. And the parents that are in there are just doing the most inspiring work because they're really wanting to be the change in their family. They put their hand up as like, I'm ready for the buck to stop here. I want to do things differently. I want to be a new paradigm parent. I want to change things. I want to react differently. I want to be compassionate. I want to have faith in my kids. I want my kids to grow up authentically. I want to feel like I'm intending for my life to go the way that it is. They want to get in the driver's seat of their own life. They don't want to have life coming at them and feel like they're at the effect. And so it's an incredible group. We've never had to moderate it, which is so crazy. Like, we have over 120,000 families inside the app, and we've never had to moderate a bad comment. So it's like, it's just so beautiful, the people that show up. It's so incredible. And yeah, it's parents that want to do things. They want to understand their nervous system more. They want to know why they're stuck in these states of survival. They want to create a more ventral vagal experience for themselves. We call the ventral vagal parent the reconnected parent, the parent who can pause in these moments of stress and be curious about what's coming up for them, because the truth is like a lot of parents are just so dysregulated and they have so much stored stress going on that they can't even get into a state of curiosity about what's happening for them, because life is a lot. It's too much. We are under so much pressure. Parenting communities have been like destroyed in a like kind of living basis. We're under so much pressure. The information is way too immense. There's a lot of conflicting opinions. There's a lot of advice out there. And so the parents in our community are wanting to do the work. They're wanting to really get into the nervous system. They find that the breath work helps them to change things at the level of the body, because a lot of them relate to being the parent who's read all the books, knows what you're meant to be doing, but then in practice feel like they fail in some way. So yeah, it's been an amazing community to build. It's actually what I always wanted, because I remember when I first had kids and I was kind of looking for the parenting group. I was like, where are the people? And so we've really created that, which is really nice.
That's amazing. And I love that you focus on really these two pillars of the breath work, which is coming back into your body, coming back into the embodiment of the present moment. Talk to us a little bit before we end about play therapy, because I teach my parents in conscious parenting that play is a child's language. It is their vernacular. It is their work. So I often tell parents that when your child is yelling at you, you can just join them, not to mock them, but to just shift the energy into play. You can become the angry bear next to them. And what I've found is that children will play along. They're just so ready to play, right? But we parents are so in our head that we get stuck. So give us your 3 main strategies for parents who are terrified to play, by the way. Parents are very scared to play because they were not allowed to be uninhibited. They were shamed. They feel very stupid to go into their body. Tell us the 3 quickest doorways. Help parents get into that play state.
Yes, amazing. It's one of the saddest things is watching parents struggle to play or even to feel playful or to have fun. And also to have the curiosity is an incredible capacity to have in a stressful moment. Like you were saying before, like when it's an S, then curiosity is the winner if we can just say, what am I getting in touch with? And so if we can have curiosity and then with our kids expand it to humor or even better, pretend, because as soon as we're pretending, then we've got a little bit of space from what's happening that allows us to bring a lot of lightness in. So for children, I love this idea of parents out there in the world joining in and becoming a bear and raging in this way. When play is present, it means it's safe, it's pretend, it's light, it's humorous. And so then we can be with the energy without all of those things that become distressing for us, which is like seriousness, getting in trouble, making it wrong, where it all starts to feel very heavy. And we are putting that same make wrong onto our children, which, they're just so connected to their bodies and so free in their expression that they'll pivot from I'm angry to I'm fun angry, just like this without even thinking about it. But as parents, we just don't have that flexibility usually, do we? To just go pivot. It's not serious. It can be fun, But in terms of, what parents can take away in terms of playfulness, when I was working as a play therapist, I think the top myth for parents about play is that play is just fun. And I know this is in contradiction to what I've just said. Play can be fun, but it's more that play is pretend. And so some play for kids is also difficult. It's moving towards things that they have had trouble understanding. It's moving towards things that they perhaps felt overwhelmed with previously. And so when we can be more and more okay with play, we're giving our kids a chance to move towards the things that they've seen that they've felt confused by, or that they've seen but they've felt scared about. We all know, if you witnessed a car accident, you could expect your young children to be playing car accidents for a few days. It's their way of processing difficulty as well. And so one other aspect of play is that if we're triggered by our kids' play, we will shut it down. So if we can be open to perhaps being curious with our kids' play, rather than seeing all play as a teachable moment, like I must make sure my kids aren't rough with these car toys, and instead seeing, oh, they're showing me something about how life has been for them. That car crash was very scary. Maybe I can be curious about what this might be processing for them.
What you both are saying so eloquently is a pervasive theme, which is our children are always communicating to us. And we just don't know how to decode them. And what I teach my parents in my courses are that play is so purposeful. It has so many purposes, right? And you've touched on them, but just to recap, the first thing I think play is amazing at is just de-escalation of wild energy, you know?
Yeah.
When you play, you're venting, you're channeling, you're expending, and especially male children, boys, they need that play because they're more physical, they're less able to articulate. So play is just getting the energy moving, getting it through. But then it's such a beautiful way to adapt, right? So if your child is coming at you and hitting you, and he's 7 years old and it looks really scary, and he's saying it very clearly, I hate you, right? If the parent is really believing that his words have significance, then we are dead. Now we're in trouble.
Yeah.
If they can understand that he's communicating that he is feeling either hateful himself or he hates this moment, now if you realize it's not the surface, it's always something deeper,
Yeah.
then you can go, oh my goodness, I think I hate her too. What should we do? What should we do? I don't like her either, right? And now you are together hating the mother, right?
Yeah.
And the mother is you, but it's all about joining and connecting. And what you said, Eleanor, is so beautiful is that children are solving their problems through play.
Yeah, I want to give an example of that just with my youngest because he's actually the most sensitive child in the family. He's so sweet, he's so divine, but you can tell that in the dynamic of the 5 kids, he lets everyone else boss him around and he doesn't direct or lead in any way. And then when he comes into the room with me and he wants to play, he will be bossy, forceful, demanding, tell me what to do. And instead of taking it personally, like, how come with me he's so this? It's like, no, I'm his safe space. He wants to play around with this feeling of I'm in control, I'm a leader. He's trying to help me, like help him reorganize what has been going on for him in all those moments where he has been the most submissive and let it go. And so it's such a privilege because it's like I am this safe space for him to work out these feelings and to anchor in more of that for him and to just not take it personally. And I think when I reflect on my beliefs before I understood play to now, I definitely would have taken it personally. Like, how come he does this to me? How come I'm the person that he's forceful with? You know, and now I look at it like, oh, it's such a privilege. Like, he really trusts me that I can be there for him in this sensation for him that's actually quite scary because he doesn't play the leadership thing.
I love it. So he's like creating whatever he's missing. Now he's getting to be the hero and the police officer, the commander in chief. Isn't that amazing? And I think parents don't realize how important play is.
It's so important.
Play is the child's language. And the minute you realize that you don't have to ever talk to your child, just play with your child.
Yes.
Through the play, you can discipline them the best. You can give them the consequence through the play.
Yeah, I know.
And my answer to any situation for children under the age of 12, you know, when they tell me my kid is not going to school, I'm like, okay, role play that to death. Or my child is scared of going, you know, on a roller coaster. Okay, role play the roller coaster. And parents don't understand that. So I'm really happy that this conversation is highlighting the power of play. Everybody, check them out. Their app is called the Reconnected. Tell us where else they can find you and sign up for your courses.
So mostly if you jump into our Instagram at @_reconnected, that's where we're going to be sharing a lot about what we're doing. But we obviously have our website, thereconnected.com. And yeah, jump in our app. We have a free space where we're always letting people know what's up.
I love it.
Yeah, it's the best places to find us.
If you are a parent struggling with how do I incorporate play, because so many of you out there are like, what? I hate playing. I never like
Yeah.
it's boring. Because parents are so goal oriented. So play seems to have no goal. But here we are telling you it is the goal of childhood, of successful childhood,
Yeah.
is a child who can play. So check them out. They're called The Reconnected. Find them on Instagram and explore the world of play with your children. Eleanor and Emma, I'm so glad that we have become friends. I'm so excited to see you in Australia when I come on tour. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Hey, everyone. I'm sure you enjoyed that conversation. But what I want you to take away from this episode is really about the intense and immense power of play in our children's lives. You know, as a conscious parenting teacher, I cannot tell you how many times I have to keep emphasizing that parents need to sit on the floor and get into the most imaginative, fun play mode ever. We parents get so serious, we get in our head, we take everything personally, and this is a problem if we are raising children. It's okay when we are dealing with other adults, but we have to understand that children's language is play. And many parents were never played with. Many parents are uncomfortable in the realm of imagination and creativity and spontaneity. It's okay if you are a parent who can't stand playing with their child. However, you can learn how to. You can learn to, enter this amazing space called play and cultivate the skills, because when you do, it is a tool, it is a strategy to connect with your children. And so check out Eleanor and Emma's The Reconnected. It's an app, they have an Instagram page, and maybe you will learn more about the power of play. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope I will see you on the next episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. Parenting and You with Dr. Shefali is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, psychological, psychotherapeutic, coaching, healthcare, or other qualified professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment.